Today, we are diving into one of the most incredible stories of logistics and artistry you'll find anywhere. It's from the book of Exodus, and it's all about a massive construction project. But here's the catch. It was pulled off by a nomadic tribe, a people on the move, literally wandering in the middle of a vast desert.
So, yeah, that's the central question right there. Just think about it. You've been tasked with building something incredibly beautiful and detailed, but you're in the middle of nowhere. There are no hardware stores, no workshops, and definitely no two-day shipping. Where do you even begin? That's the puzzle we're going to solve today.
So, how does an impossible project like this even get off the ground? Well, our story starts with Moses. He gathers the entire community of Israel together because he's got a message for them, a command that is about to set everything in motion.
Now, what Moses tells them are two foundational instructions that at first sound like they completely contradict each other. First, he gives a command for total rest, a day to honor the Sabbath. And then, almost in the same breath, he gives a command for a massive all-hands-on-deck undertaking, a project that's going to require the energy and effort of absolutely everyone.
And this is it, the big task, in its simplest form. The people are commanded to build a sacred space, a tabernacle. And we're not talking about just some simple tent here. This thing was meant to be ornate, glorious, a true masterpiece. Which, of course, brings us right back to our big question. Where in the world are they going to get the materials? I mean, just look at this list. This isn't scrap wood and some spare canvas. We're talking about precious metals, intricately woven fabrics, rare woods, and even gemstones. For a group of people wandering through a desert, finding all of this seems completely impossible. This command was also a monumental logistical challenge. So how did they pull it off? How did they solve this logistical nightmare? Well, the answer didn't come from some new trait deal or a lucky discovery in the sand. Nope, it came from within the community itself. It came from the people's response to the call. This one verse. This is the key to the entire story. The response wasn't forced, it wasn't a tax, it wasn't mandatory. The giving was prompted by something internal, something deep inside, a stirred heart and a willing spirit. People were genuinely moved, they were inspired to give what they had. And this idea just nails it, a willing heart. It transforms what could be an obligation into an opportunity. It's about wanting, truly wanting to be part of something bigger than yourself. It's about giving freely, not because you have to, but because you're genuinely inspired to do it. So what happens when an entire community is moved by this kind of spirit? Well, you don't just get a little trickle of donations. You get a flood, a complete outpouring of generosity. You know, I love this part because it shows that every single contribution mattered. It wasn't just about who had the most gold to give. You had people bringing their personal treasures, their bracelets, their earrings, and right alongside them, you had others bringing their practical skills, the wise-hearted women who knew how to spin fine thread. Both were absolutely essential. And these contributions came from literally every part of society. You see men bringing metals, you see people who just happen to have that specific type of rare wood needed, you had women spinning different materials for different parts of the sanctuary, and you even had the leaders bringing the most precious items like gemstones and special oils. It was a true all-in community effort. And the result of all this willing-hearted giving? It was overwhelming. They had more than enough to complete the entire project. The generosity of the people didn't just meet the need, it actually exceeded it. Problem number one, solved. But hold on, that only solves half of the puzzle, right? You can have a mountain of gold and a pile of precious gems, but if nobody knows what to do with them, they're just a pile of stuff. So who had the skills to turn all these donations into a beautiful sanctuary? And the answer comes as a divine appointment. One person is singled out, called specifically by name to lead this whole artistic endeavor, a man named Bezalel. He is designated as the master craftsman for the entire project. So what made Bezalel the guy for this job? The text is really clear that his ability wasn't just some raw talent he was born with. It's described as a divine gift. It says he was filled with the Spirit of God, which gave him everything he needed, wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and the practical skill for, and I quote, all manner of workmanship. And a skill set? It was absolutely breathtaking. He could design intricate works in metal, he could cut and set gemstones, and he was a master woodcarver. Basically, he had every single skill required to oversee the artistic and structural creation of the entire tabernacle, a true master of all trades.
Now, this is crucial. He wasn't supposed to do it all himself. A partner, a man named Aholiab, was appointed to work right alongside him. And their job wasn't just to build, but to teach. This is such an important detail. They were tasked with passing on their knowledge to other willing artisans within the community.
And this brings everything full circle, doesn't it? In the exact same way the people had a willing heart to give their treasures, the artisans were filled with wisdom of heart to build. The motivation and the skill came from the very same inspired place. It empowered them to do every task required, from engraving to weaving to embroidery. So in the end, the story from Exodus 35 is about so much more than just building a sanctuary. It's really a blueprint for what becomes possible. It's what happens when a community's incredible generosity and its inspired talent all align for one single shared purpose. It proves that even in the most unlikely of places, something truly magnificent can be created.